Welcome to Brain Wellness, the podcast. I'm your host, Mandy NP. Each episode will bring you a new topic or interview related to brain health and wellness as part of my mission to help you on the path to a healthier, happier brain. So, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. My guest today is Dr. Michael Kaufman. Mike is a career special education expert who has recently published a book by Rowman Littlefield titled Doing Good and Doing Well, Inspiring Helping Professionals to Become Leaders in Their Organizations. In this book, he shares lessons learned from his 30-year trajectory in the social services, starting as an in the field social worker and eventually advancing to 3 CEO positions. His mission with this book is to champion his fellow helping professionals, encouraging them to discover and nurture the leader within and aspire to their highest leadership potential with the natural gifts and specific training that equip them for upper management roles. So we're talking about that and more today. Thank you so much for being here today with me, Mike.
Oh, Mandy, thank you so much for having me. It's been excited about coming on.
Yeah, so excited for that. Uh,
Yeah.
you have this great bio, and I could have read it all myself, but I like to hear it from the person individually. So can you give us a little bit about your background? How did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking. So I in college was got my degree in accounting. And when you graduate, when you get a degree in accounting, what they do is you get an internship your senior year. And when I got that internship, I started getting a pit in my stomach. It was at Ernst and Young, which is one of the big 5 accounting firms. I should have been really excited, but just something didn't feel right. And that same time, I started working at the Center for Cognitive Rehabilitation in New Brunswick, New Jersey, working with folks with head injuries. And I absolutely loved it. I was passionate about it. I fell in love with the field. And my boss had an MSW, was a social worker. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't even know. I mean, I loved volunteering. I loved helping people. I didn't know there was a career out there called MSW that I could do this with. So I then pursued it, and I was involved with residence life at college. So I was, well aware of, that I could get something to help me pay for going for my master's. And then everything took off from there. I just love social work. I embraced it, going for my master's, the internships, starting in schools, working my way up. Ended up doing a teaching fellowship at Rutgers where I was able to teach when I was going for my doctorate, teach the graduate school social work courses, which I loved. And then I started working, in New Keensburg Public Schools. That's a district in New Jersey. I worked at the Newark Boys and Girls Clubs. That's a city in New Jersey, and was working with kids with challenges. And then I found this company where I started running a school, and then I was like, this is amazing. I got to run my own school with kids with special needs. And I took it from running that one school to moving up to be the regional director, chief operating officer, then the president and CEO of the company. And I love just talking to all of the staff that we had about being a leader, being a great leader, caring about your people. And that's where writing this book came from. So it was really a combination. It's a bucket list item where I was able to combine my love of teaching graduate school at Rutgers, my love of leading a company, and the lessons I was able to impart. And I just wanted to write this book to get it out there of, wow, us as helping people are as good as leaders as people with MBAs. Because when I walked into, when the company I ended up running sold to private equity, and I had a board of people who graduated from Princeton, Harvard. They had really nice suits. They had tons of money. And over time, I was like, but they don't know the business better than I do. They're not better leaders than I am. They don't care about the people as much as maybe I do. And I started to realize that our training, the active listening, the caring, the compassion, the strength in the compassion, the empathy and accountability, the being tough on results but soft on people. And I started seeing the power that we bring as helping people to run true businesses was great. So that led me to saying, hey, let me put this all down in a book, all these fun things that I was able to do.
Yeah. So you just sparked a question in me then too, because I've always seen how in healthcare we always have these people with MBAs running the system, but it's never the people in practice that are up there. And how does that make us different as helping professionals? Can we make different leaders than somebody who has an MBA?
Yeah, so I feel that we get the left and the right brain. So we get emotional intelligence as opposed and IQ. Where I found a lot of my friends with MBAs or a lot of the people on the board were so into the intellectual looking at the business, looking at the numbers and how you looked at people. And I just felt that we bring that whole 360-degree view. There's one thing I loved when I was going to school to be a social worker, and it was echograms and echo maps, and you'd put the person that you were working with in the middle, and you put everything around them, their environment, their family, their job, their community. And that's what social workers and psychologists do. We look at that whole full circle. And that's what I do as a leader. Is I look at you as an individual. How can I lead you? What motivates you? How can I help you? What are you going through today? How can I spend time with you so when there is a crisis, we can deal with it? Again, the results have to be met. How can we meet those results, but I can still be kind to you as a person, even if we're not hitting the mark where we need to? It's just a way of treating people, talking to people, living it just, living how you would like to be treated and leading people how you'd like to be treated.
Yeah, that whole golden rule that we used to call it, right?
Yeah. And like everything I learned I needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten what that book was. That's really, really powerful. And you know what also happened to me is I had a lunch once, something that you just, briefly mentioned, with somebody that she was at an agency, and she's like, gosh, the people above me, why do we always pull in somebody who is in pharmaceutical sales or business to run our organizations? She was just so frustrated. And I was like, well, why didn't you throw your hat in the ring? And she's like, you're absolutely right, I should. And that was part of what sparked my interest of people in our field need to be motivated to lead, because there is this a little bit of a thing is we were pulled into this to a calling. You're a nurse, I'm a social worker by trade. We've both gone a little bit beyond that, but those are callings. Those are a passion and desire to do well for society. So a lot of us who have that feeling and that mindset feel to do well or for ourselves or move up. Maybe we're letting go of the calling and we're thinking too much of ourselves. Where I always say I wanted a bigger caseload. So when I was a social worker, maybe my caseload was 25. Now I'm running a school, my caseload is hundreds of students. So if you look at it like that, you are making a bigger impact, and you don't have to let go of that doing good thing that we all want to have.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is just a bigger caseload for sure. Um, what can you, without giving away anything in your book, can you say maybe a couple things that you learned from being a social worker that helped kind of make you want to be in that leadership position?
Yeah, great question. To me, social workers, there's a humility that comes with being a social worker. Everyone doesn't necessarily look at us as the leaders of society. So we are with our clients. We relate to them. We're working our lives up as they are. And I remember the ability when I went once to a social service agency with one of my clients who needed to get food stamps, and just how everyone there sort of talked to him, and it wasn't with tons of respect, and he didn't feel valued when he went there, and almost felt looked down upon. So what I learned is that, wow, people really need us. They need someone to help them, but not do everything for them, but just be there as a guide, as a support, and to listen. Which leads me to another thing: is active listening. Is a great leader listens to the people that they're leading. They don't feel they have all the answers. They know they don't have all the answers. And you want people to self-actualize and figure out what they want on their own. So you know how to listen, speak once they're done, allow a little silence, even to let somebody get to what the real issue is and say it to you. So I learned about active listening and to be empathetic and kind. One thing that you have to learn to be a leader is most of us as social workers, if you look at the continuum of empathy and accountability, we're way usually more on empathy. And when you want to become a leader, I needed to learn accountability because I was kind, kind, kind. But if you're running an organization, you're just nice all the time, people aren't going to believe that you're going to hold anyone accountable. So you got to learn the other. So I got the empathy from social work, and just an ability to that whole servant leader mindset of emotional intelligence, as I mentioned before. We're here for you. I want to make your life better. Caring about everyone you lead. When you care about everybody, you're gonna get better results.
Yeah, yeah. So not to get political, but we just had the elections, right? So I'm thinking that the next time it comes around, we need to get some healthcare people in the election. for voting.
Mandy, I love that. When I just did a presentation this Saturday, and I said this to people that, again, not to get political, but if helping folks were Republicans and Democrats in Congress, let's say, don't you think we would listen to the other side a little bit better? We
Mhm.
may not ridicule and say things that are mean-spirited or hurtful. I just don't think that's what we would do. We may disagree with a point, but we know how to be respectful in disagreement. There's a lot of honor and value in that. It's great when everyone agrees with you, but that's not life. So I feel that we would understand that someone disagreed with us. We would try to say our side, but there would be dignity still in the disagreement. So I really, really wish that we were more in politics or more ambassadors to other countries. Like, could we sit down with folks from different countries and try to put them together and have them work things out? That's what we do. We negotiate, we help people to see both sides. There isn't, nobody's always 100% right and 100% wrong. And I
Mhm.
think that's what's missing. And we would definitely bring that.
Hmm. Hmm. Sorry, I had to go off on that tangent because it just
No, no.
struck me for a moment
How
there. I'm
could you
like,
not
oh
today, right?
gosh, right.
How could you not today?
So I do want to go back to that thought of servant leadership that you were bringing up. So sometimes, and I want you to describe to the listeners what servant leadership is for those that are not really familiar with it, because I have a kind of a tailing question on that. So first, let's describe what it is.
So it's really focusing, like I said, using your intellectual IQ with grounded by emotional intelligence. So it's grounding it in there and realizing both are as important. It's an altruistic nature. It's putting others' interests above your own. A lot of times leadership is not about your power. It's about making other people powerful around you. So a servant leader, whatever organization you're in, if you walk into a hospital and you see somebody sweeping up the floor, that a servant leader will, even if you are the CEO of the hospital, will get out a broom and a dustpan and sweep if you see something dirty. Wow, that person's doing it. It's saying we're all in this together. It's on the well-being of those that you're serving. It's not your goals and aspirations that you're really focusing by. You're also driven by ethics, which is really, really important. You really are looking to try to do the right thing. Again, there's a lot of dollars in education. I deal in special education. There's a lot of dollars in medical fields. If it's grounded by ethics, how you spend the money, how you use the money, how you treat the employees that you're dealing with. So that's always really, really important. It's just sharing power with everyone around you and wanting people that you lead to be better than you. That's like a really important thing. So if you're leading somebody and they're just new to the organization, you see they have a skill, there's two ways to react. You could be intimidated by that, go, oh my God, someone's going to see this person's better than me, I don't want them to rise up. Or to tell them that they're great before they even know they're great. That's going to make the organization better. It's going to make you look like a great leader. You found this person, you brought them up, you did all these kinds of things. So believe in people before they believe in themselves. That was a gift that was given to me. I didn't know that I can run an organization. My mentor, she was the original founder of the company I ended up running, and she told me, she goes, Mike, I think you could be better than me. And I was like, what? You think I could be better than you? I want to be half as good as you. But she said it enough where, and I'm a pretty humble guy, where I started to believe it a little bit because she kept saying it and then she was bringing me into things. So it wasn't just words. You don't want to just do words and tell someone they're great. Do it through action. So she would bring me in to meetings, share things with me, and started discussing succession planning. And hey, when I step aside, I want you to take over. So not only did she say it, she lived it. And that's servant leadership too, is building up everyone around you and hoping that everybody around you will be better than you.
Mhm. So my leading question and why I wanted you to describe that a little bit more too is because sometimes you kind of gave me a little bit about that before. You mentioned wanting to build up a little bit of strength because you were kind, and you
Yes.
needed to gain other skills with it. Sometimes people see servant leaders as too kind and
Yes.
easy to walk on. How can we discriminate that they're not that the floor rug? You can't just walk on them.
Yep. Great question. So I think what's happened, if you look at COVID and Corona, is for the first time in the world, everyone started to see us as the rock stars. people banging pots and pans when nurses walk down the street, especially nurses were unbelievable. As a nurse, you're walking into a situation where you didn't know what was going on. You just put a mask on the next day. We didn't have an opportunity, all of us in the helping professions, those frontline workers, to say, I'm going to stay at home and work remotely. We had to go out there. So is that strength? Is that toughness? It sure is to me. You're willing to put your life on the line. So it's trying to embrace out people to say, oh, wow, I am pretty tough. Those of us that are social workers. I've done home visits. I went up into large, tall buildings and not even knowing what I was walking into, what I was facing to do a home visit, and being willing to go into somebody's household, not knowing what's going on. That's strength. When I was going for my doctorate, I was on call if anybody was suicidal, and I had to go at 2, 3 in the morning and do assessments. That's strength. So it's there. We have to start seeing strength as not a weakness, and you need somebody around you to push you. I have this great story. When I ran my first school, the administrative assistant, she was this young woman who was great. And she goes, Mike, you're really accountable with the kids. You do a great job with the kids. You aren't accountable at all with the staff. So there was a staff member that was coming in late every single day. So the overly empathetic Mike, what did I do? I go into a staff meeting. I'm like, guys, we have to all come in on time. When any one of us is late, the whole school isn't as good. And guess who the person that was shaking their head to me, vigorously agreeing with me, the person that was coming in late. So what I did is I talked to everybody who was doing a good job and made them feel like they weren't doing a good job. The one guy that was doing the thing that needed to be changed thought he sort of was shaking his head yes. So you got to be direct. You got to be honest. And that is being kind. Being strong is kindness because you're being real. If you're just saying something to smooth something over, that's actually not being that kind. So just like I say to people in the helping profession, you can learn the finances. Like you may not, you could take QuickBooks is a great thing to help you find a mentor, read a finance book. You can learn that stuff. I can't teach you how to be kind, caring, empathetic, and charismatic, but you can learn that stuff, and you can learn accountability because I did. I was the least accountable guy. I ran from accountability and I thought that was being mean. And I now see it's the absolute opposite. When you are accountable mixed with empathetic, people really respect you because they're like, this person cares about me, but they also are going to push me to be the best that I can be. So it's the combination of those two that are vital.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can learn all of these skills. What can new leaders do to try to kind of embrace all of this?
So I love one of my favorite things to do when I interview people is on the first interview is I say, what job do you want in 5 years? Is start to push that promotion from day one. It is very hard to find people to do what we're doing, you and I. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Would rather maybe drive for Uber or Amazon than be a nurse or a social worker right now. It's a lot easier, a lot less stressful. What a young person can do is the day they're hired is learn the organization. Try to read books, read leadership books, anything that you like. It can be, there's coaches. If you're a sports fan, there's coaches have written stuff. If you're a business fan, Jack Welch's book is great. If you're a helping person, there's leadership books. Just read, find a mentor, start embracing it. One thing I love to do in any organization I lead is create a passport for the company and give it to all the new people and say, you have to talk to somebody in finance, HR, operations, and you go and then you get stamped, your passport gets stamped, so you learned each part. So try to get to know your organization inside and out. Be the first one there, last to leave. Some things that we stop talking about these days, those are the people that you want to move up. Wow, that person's here. They're staying a little after when there's an issue or a crisis. They don't run to go home. Join a committee. Say, I want to be on a committee. You don't have to lead the committee. If there's a committee in an organization, even if it's the committee of the social committee where we're going to start planning events, get involved. Don't run from it and let your boss know. Be intentional. Say, I want to move up. And I want to do what it takes to move up. What can I do? Or how can I learn more from you? And as a boss, I love that. I don't see that as someone being too bold. I see that as somebody advocating for themselves. One thing that we're great for is we advocate for our clients amazingly well. We have to advocate for ourselves just as much. So that's one thing that I want us to do is we're experts at fighting so hard for the people that we serve, fight for us as well, because we have a lot to offer in leadership.
100% agree on that. I don't think any of us are really good at advocating for ourselves at any degree
Not at all.
as healthcare workers. Mm-hmm.
No.
How can, so the show is all about brain wellness, brain health. How can leadership, or even more specifically, servant leadership, how can that tie back to our brain health and wellness?
Well, it ties back because when you're moving up and you're doing well, you feel better. When we were in school, I remember cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And our brain, and that resonated with me, that if I change my cognitions, that will lead to changing behavior. So if my mindset is on, I want to help more people, or I want to grow, I want to develop, that mindset will then make my behaviors go to doing certain things, or my mindset to say, I want to create a softer, gentler, kinder organization where we treat each other well. We know we have results. You have to have results, and you got to push those results. But I want it to be in a really nice, kind way, is taking those thoughts and putting it to behavior. And just taking care of yourself and allowing other people to take care of themselves too. One of my bosses once shocked us all. She was this big business that we ran, said, I want you all to pick a passion that has nothing to do with the business and pursue it tomorrow. And mine was doing a radio show, like Frasier, a call-in show where people, and I did it. It had nothing to do with the business. And I was like scratching my head. Why did she say that? You know why? Because she wanted me to feel good. In general, she wants me to be happy. Happiness it leads to brain health. I mean, happiness leads to body health. There's so many books out there that tie headaches, back pain, neck pain directly to stress. And if we are able to understand where we're stressed, what's bothering us, and if we feel a lack of control over our organizations or ourselves, our bodies feel not as good, our brains don't feel as good, and we're not going to face the day and say, I'm coming at you today. So it all ties back to those original thoughts and a healthy mind, healthy body. If somebody wants to bring in a yoga person to the office, or any kind of thing that looks to the body, or reward people for going to a gym, maybe, or anything that's positive, eating, like doing a contest, let's all eat well together. Let's try to eat a little bit less fried foods, or less Doritos. That's my weakness. But these kind of things all lead to, I think, a stronger, just feeling better, which will make you a way better leader. If you wake up spry in the morning, you're going to lead way better and be much kinder and gentler to your people.
Yeah. And I think we all want to work under people like that too, right? If you think about where you've worked and where your favorite places to work have been, your boss can make or break the place you work.
Absolutely. I always say this to people: who won the Academy Award 4 years ago for actress? Nobody knows. Tell me a boss or a teacher you had 10, 20 years ago that it impacted you positively or negatively. We all can name somebody. So, those are leaders. It's so vital. We remember the good ones. We also remember the negative ones those having a negative boss also can help to define how you can do it better. I don't wish a negative experience on someone, but sometimes you need to know what you don't want to know what you want, and also to know how, wow, I was treated like this. I want to treat people better.
Yeah, I've definitely learned things from leaders in the past, that things that I didn't want to do in the future
Yes.
and things that I did want to do. And I would say those servant leaders that I had definitely helped shape me to be the leader that I see myself as now. And the ones that were not the servant leaders is where I learned that that's what's not to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important. You're going to have those too, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're working with the young people today, is try to let them not be discouraged by that negative leader that you see. You're going to face it. How do you handle it? How can you get through it? How can you navigate it? How can you find maybe even somebody else in the organization that may, resonate more with you? But you don't have to quit. Sometimes quitting is the only option because it's that bad and that one person has so much power and control.
Yeah.
But it is going to happen. You're going to have to face it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've got a bunch of teenagers in our house, and we always talk about how you can't undo every situation that you're in, but you can learn from every situation. So it's
absolutely.
whether it's a good lesson or a bad lesson, you will learn something.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. So, that said, I think we could probably go on for a long time, and I could probably come up with so many more questions. Um, but I know you have some upcoming events and things that you're working on. Would you like to share some of those with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been doing a lot of podcasts around the book and doing articles and just getting the word out, presentations. And what's great about a book now, it was a bucket list thing for me, but it's a book has become a new business card, right? Unless you're Stephen King or J.K. Rowling, you're probably not going to get rich from writing a book. But what can you do from that book is this has been an opportunity for me to put all these lessons down. I taught at Rutgers. Can I now teach a class at Rutgers using my book? I'm just on a mission to get the helping people running business organization, many, I'm so happy you said it, into politics,
Mhm.
into all kinds of positions of leadership and power. I just want to let everyone see you have this power, you have this skill. It's there. It might be underneath if you haven't shined through yet, but if you haven't let it shine through, let it, and let the world see how charismatic you are, how likable you are, but also how tough you are. And I love that you said that before, that we are seen as soft skill leaders. What's the soft skills? Like the HR type of skills, the happiness and joy, but we're also results oriented. All of us have caseloads. Whether if you're a nurse, how are your patients doing? Have they improved? Like, so when people think that we're soft, we have really hard results. You have life and death. Is there a result that is more has more consequences either way than that? So I think we have to embrace our toughness and our strength. So to me, what I want to do is just get the word out and try to inspire more helping people to lead the organizations that they're in, and say we don't necessarily need to go on the outside and find a business person to do this. I can do it.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. That's a fantastic mission. I will help you however I can with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about this?
Sure. So the book is on wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I have a website for the book, michaellkaufman.com. You can see some of my podcasts and articles that I've, written, and some more information on the book if you'd love to read that. So that's great.
Awesome. And you shared all your socials with me. I will include all of those on the show
Thank you.
notes as well, so people can find you easily on all of those. Any last things that you'd like to share with our listeners before we wrap up for today?
Yeah, I just feel, Mandy, I'm so happy to be on your podcast because I think you live and breathe what I'm talking about. Like, you could obviously lead this podcast, but you could be me today talking to everybody else, and how you've worked with, folks with migraine, strokes. That's one that really hits home to me, aphasia and people losing, who have the ability to speak their whole life and then have lost the ability to communicate and have got that back. And then what you've gone through personally with your car accident, you rose above, you have not let this stop you. Like, again, are we tough? Are we strong? Look at you. You could have said, put your hands up and said, I need tons of time here. You said, no, you got right back into it. And you're doing amazingly well. And when I watched one of your podcasts where you said you had some podcasts in the hopper while you were recovering. So nobody even saw a lapse with you. You didn't even let a lapse go. So if someone wants to think we're not strong, I would love to put you up on a billboard and say, we as the helping people are strong. You are the example of strength and of helping people being leaders. So thanks to people like you, you don't need to read my book. I wouldn't mind if you did, but you don't need to. You've already lived it. So you're inspiring. And I hope a lot of people are watching. I'm happy they're watching this one with me, but I hope they watch everything you do.
Well, thank you for that, Mike. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. This
Thank
is a
you.
great lesson for leaders that are out there, for would-be leaders. I hope that we get a ton of people listening, because I think absolutely, I agree. I think more people in the helping professions need to be in those leadership positions, because that's where we can make the biggest impact, I think.
Great. Thank you so much for your
Right.
time.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this with others to help me continue on with my mission to help people live healthier, happier lives. Go to www.brainwellnesssolutions.com to see what I'm up to and get links to all the social medias there. See you next time.